Everyone. So glad to have you here. I'm super excited about today. Normally, we start with a little music and it's kind of upbeat and stuff like that. I think we played a little Luther Vandross last week. But this past live, I actually opened up with one of our meditations, our Samuel L. Jackson version, of course. I've told y'all, Samuel L. Jackson is my spirit animal. That's just how that shit goes. So it is what it is. But I opened up last week, or our live I did earlier this week with one of those, and it was just incredible. So I said, you know what, let's do it again. And so that's what we did today, and it actually gave us a little bit of time. So I'm excited about that. So again, I see so many of you already here. Muttley, Mark, man, it's so many to see you in the chat, man. I love you all. I hope you all are having a wonderful day. I hope you enjoyed your weekend. I hope it was productive, progressive, positive, and all that jazz. If you're new to this channel, man, today we do our Sunday sessions. Every week we try to come together and host some conversations that matter, help us build ourselves, whether it's personal growth, community development. That's really what we're all about. My whole passion in life, man, is really to empower people and communities. I have a very, very simple thesis, man, that better people lead to better relationships, and better relationships lead to better outcomes. And so we try to have better conversations to make that possible for people. So let me give a few announcements, and then we're going to jump right into our conversation today. Very quickly, last month, we started doing our supporters, members only events. So we did our first one last month. So our second one is coming up on July the 25th. I almost said the 4th. I don't know why. But July the 25th, we're going to be doing our next supporters only event. So that's for our patrons. That's for our YouTube members. That's for our window shoppers. And that's for our BC grads. And so if you don't want to go through the BC course, if you don't want to become a patron, just go buy something on Window Shop and you'll still get invited. It's that easy. And there's free stuff on Window Shop. So there's like there's a way to get in. All right. We also have 75 students who are currently enrolled in Bridge City 101, How We Change the World. Again, that's a free course to learn more about the work that we're doing with Bridge City. And then, of course, NanoCon is coming up on July the 26th. Your boy will be there. And I'd love to be able to mingle with some of you while I'm there as well. And of course, it's the first of the month. So I have absolutely got to acknowledge our patrons and YouTube members who make this possible, man. We have Goddess Arike, Don Goodman, Sharon Good, Mark Bryson, Elaine Coleman, Mario Wanana, Charles Payette, Justin P., Dark Side of Delight Productions, Robert Richmond, and Jeff Leach. I appreciate you all so much for your support. All right. I'm very curious to know how many of you are excited about this conversation today. Oh, man, I'm just looking at some of the chat. This is awesome. That was powerful. Samuel Jackson is a great orator. He really is. I don't know if y'all have heard, seen him read the book. What is it? Go to Fuck to Sleep. Amazing narration. You got to go check it out. It's inspiring. It makes you want to go to fuck to sleep. I mean, it really does. That's what it does. That's what he's good at. All right, I see a lot of excitement in the chat. I love One-Eyed Heathen. Hello, happy for another atheist church. I ain't mad at it. I'll take that where we can get it. Well, listen, I've been planning this conversation for quite a while. I've been really excited about this because I love Forrest's work. Y'all probably knew Forrest long before you knew me, but if you didn't, go check out his stuff. There's a video on his channel right now called Praise Darwin. It is absolutely fantastic. I don't know if that's the name of it. That's the thumbnail. The thumbnail is Praise Darwin, but it's absolutely fantastic. I also watched one where he did about dinosaurs, and holy shit, it was awesome. I was 3 minutes in and I was already crying because it was so well put. So for those of you who are seeking knowledge, seeking to get a better understanding of science and how it impacts our life, please make sure you go subscribe to the Renegade Science Teacher. Now, I'm going to set this up a little bit because I want to tell you why I was excited about this conversation. Forrest has a hard science focus. I have a soft science focus. And I've always loved the collaboration of both of those things. I've spent the majority of my life in the soft sciences. And it wasn't until I deconverted that I began to realize how powerful, motivational, inspirational that the hard sciences were. I've kind of avoided them the majority of my life. I thought they were demonic, almost. And so, just even thinking about how much I've learned from evolution and just evolution and just human adaptation and how much I've been able to apply that to my own life, I'm super excited about this conversation. I hope that you all can get some value out of this as well. It's very funny. My first year in college, my freshman year in college, I bought my textbooks just like everybody else did, spent a whole lot of money. And at the time I was a father with a kid and a pastor. So I didn't have a lot of money, but I went and bought those expensive ass textbooks and did not use them. As a matter of fact, I remember I had a book that was like still in the plastic, and I went and took it back to my, you can do the book buyback thing, and I'd paid like $300 for this book. And the teacher told me, or the people told me in the library that they'll give me $5 for this book that I had never opened, that was still in the plastic, that I paid $300 for. As a poor Black person, I was mortified. Like, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I spent $300 on this book because you told me that I could not pass this class without this book. And I didn't even open this book and still pass the class, and you're only gonna give me $5 for it. I was mortified. So after that, I made the decision, not until I switched my major, that I would not buy another textbook in college. And I kept that up for 3 years. I did not buy textbooks. Teachers threatened me, you're going to fail my class if you do not buy this textbook. I embraced the internet, and I felt like most people were lying. I honestly felt like most people were lying, because at this moment I was kind of deconstructing a lot of things in the way that I viewed the world. And so I took that challenge and I said, you know what? I'm going to take you up on that. And I passed all of my classes those 3 years without buying one textbook, until I switched my major to sociology, because then something happened. At that moment, the textbooks were not about passing the class. The textbooks were about me having an understanding of the subject matter. It was about me exploring the stories. And the truth of the matter, in most of those classes, we didn't go through half of what was in those books. But having those books for me to read what other sociologists thought, it was being introduced to people like Max Weber and Emile Durkheim that challenged the way that I saw the world, and that I saw religion, and that I saw many things. And then eventually after that, especially after I deconstructed and deconverted, it gave me a window into other sciences that I had never appreciated before, like physics, like biology. Even just a basic understanding of realizing how displaced I was from my understanding of biology helped me understand my own weight issues. Many of you know I was over 500 pounds for a large part of my life. I've always been a big boy. This is the smallest I've been probably since 6th grade, which is amazing. But it came because I realized that, oh, snap, I don't actually have an understanding of my own body, nor am I even trying to get one. And having that understanding could only help. And so science has been absolutely instrumental in me understanding the world that I live in and me learning how to navigate it. And so I wanted to promote this conversation today. Last week, we talked about living on purpose and just pulling from some secular strategies. So today we're going science, and I hope y'all are ready for this. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Forrest on the screen, man. And I hope y'all are as excited as I am. Forrest.
Hey. I'm fantastic, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Super excited to have you here, man. This is my first time having you over here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drop off for a moment and let you talk. If you could just tell us a little bit about what you got going on right now. For those who may not know you, tell them what you do with your channel, the work you do, your background, so we can set this conversation up.
Yeah. How much? He's gone. I don't know how many details you want. Oh, yeah. How many details? Like, do you want thorough or like?
We're super casual around here, man. So you flow as you go. Yep.
All right. Yeah, totally. So hi, everybody. My name is Forrest Valkai. I'm a biologist and a science communicator here on them internets. You can find me on YouTube and TikTok and sometimes Instagram. And occasionally I remember that I have a Threads and a Blue Sky and whatnot as well. And the main goal of all of those platforms is to help people learn to love science and themselves and each other as well. Learn your place in the universe and then get excited, get motivated. You want to go out and learn more stuff and tell more people the cool things that you've learned and make the world a better place. I strongly believe that science education is the best way to improve somebody's life and to improve the lives of everybody else around them, because not only does it motivate you, but it also teaches you so much about what it means to be a human being and what it means to exist in this world. You cannot be racist if you understand biology. You cannot be sexist if you understand biology. You cannot be homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic. If you understand biology, it just makes you a better person, and it makes you want to go out and change the world. Because if you are thinking critically, and if you're thinking scientifically, and if you're thinking skeptically, and if you're putting that brain to work, looking at the world around you, you will not be able to accept the world around you. As for me, I have a stupid background that nobody should emulate. I hold associate's degrees in education with a focus on science education, liberal arts with a focus on biology, biology with a focus on evolution, then a bachelor's in integrative biology with a focus on organismic and evolutionary biology, then a master's in anthropology with a focus on bioanthropology and zooarchaeology and research into paleoecological reconstruction, then another master's in biomedical sciences with a focus on human anatomy and paleontology and independent study into sex and gender development. And I'm currently a PhD student studying biochemistry and molecular biology with a focus on neuroendocrinology, behavior, and learning, and research into what makes us learn science and how we can do that better. And I want to take that research and turn it right back around in my career and make my job as a teacher, as an educator, more effective so I can help more people, because that's the mission. That's the whole goal. If I said any single one of those degrees or any single one of my plans or any single one of the things that I'm working on right now, because everybody who knows me knows I'm always busy as shit because I'm always doing 30 different things. If I were to look at any single one of those things, it would be daunting and it would be overwhelming. And if I were to look at all of them together and say, I'm going to do all of this from scratch, I would never get off the couch. But the cool thing about it is that all I got to do is go up one stair a day. All I got to do is focus on one single step. All I got to do is focus on the goal, on the mission, on the vision, on the plan. Every single good thing that happens, every single thing that I accomplish isn't surprising, isn't crazy, isn't even a cause for celebration. It's all part of the plan. And when I turn around and look behind me after 5 years, I've gone up more stairs than I thought I could in a single day. And if I had thought about all that at once, I never would have done it. So I'm saying all this because of your amazing motivational session at the beginning. I just want to encourage people, like, the cool thing about science, when you look at it from the outside looking in, it looks scary, it looks daunting, it looks impossible, it looks difficult, it looks insane, especially the way that we present it in America. It's all for old white men with long white beards and long white coats and tall white towers. But let me tell you, it is all around you all the time, and it is for everybody. And the more you learn it, the more you can learn it, and the better and more exciting it gets, and the universe around you follows suit. That's me. Hi, I'm Forrest.
Oh, snap. That was one hell of an introduction, man. That's incredible. Like I have so many talking points from just that intro alone. Number one, dude, you have so many fucking degrees. Like that's insane. That's incredible.
I was saying it's a really stupid, nobody should do that. Nobody should do that way. It's get a bachelor's and shut up. It's all you need to do.
I love it because like even someone put in the chat like professional student, like, and that is something that I do like to encourage people. Is like lifelong learning is a thing. You know, it's so many people have this mentality that after I'm done with high school or after I'm done with college, I'm done learning. I've learned everything I need to know. And I'm like, no, like it's like we literally have to be adaptive. I use the phrase, I update my realism in real time. And that actually comes from when I was a Christian. When I was a Christian in high school, and I was called myself kind of rebuking someone for smoking. And the person that I was rebuking was an atheist. And like literally, he ate my grits, man. He took my lunch. Like he literally said, okay, you're claiming that this is a health thing, but you eat hot dogs, you eat chicken, you all eat all this stuff. And he was like, so you're actually being hypocritical. And then like, it was too easy for him to undermine what I firmly held to at that time as a sincere belief. And when he did that, it created a strong discomfort within me where I was like, holy shit, things that I may really think to be true right now, someone may be able to expose me to information that I may realize is actually not the truth, you know, and I need to be okay to wrestle with that. And so I've been kind of honing that for a while, of learning how to update my realism in real time. Something that I do want to ask with someone who has gotten this many degrees, for people out there who may like, because you said, you're like, hey, don't emulate this. What are some other things they can do to still get access to that knowledge? Because some people feel like all knowledge is behind a paywall, and if I don't get the degree, I can't learn. What would your advice be to them?
So the reason why I kept going back and kept doing it again and again, because something you said there at the very beginning is really important. You think that you've learned everything. And when I was getting into college for the first time, I was like, oh, all I have to do is just get this degree and then I'll know all of biology.
Yes.
And like the more I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know. And the more I realize there is more to learn. And especially in grad school, you're learning at the forefront of what we know so far. And
Yes.
especially then, like your professors are going to say, like, this is how this works. We think, but there's this new research that's kind of undermining that right now. Or here's this new thing that we don't know. I took classes in like epigenetics and stuff, which is like a brand new field of science in the past decade or so. And we're just now starting to learn, and it has massive implications, not just for genetics, but for evolution and for like physiology and for who we are as people. And so like, that's to me, what makes it so addictive is that I'm learning. I can go read a book and pick up whatever I want to know, or I can have an expert in the topic teach it to me directly and give me a cool piece of paper saying that I know it. And maybe if I get enough of those pieces of paper, maybe one of them will cover up my imposter syndrome. Maybe we'll see. We're waiting on. But to anybody else who doesn't want to go about it that way, there are still plenty of resources. Find good science communicators and good educators who are putting their stuff out for free. Buy textbooks. I know you did your whole thing about don't buy textbooks. So let me tell you, what you said at the end was so important when it changed for you and it was about understanding the material.
Yes.
The cool thing about textbooks is that they are a racket. They charge out the ass for them. And they do that, and they're able to get away with that because they add one line or they'll switch 2 chapters around or whatever else to make it a new edition, and you have to buy the new edition. But if you look it up, you can go on like a lot of colleges and universities and like get a syllabus for whatever class you want to take, find out what the textbook is, buy last year's edition of the textbook on Amazon for $30 and learn a lot of stuff. I've done that. I can't even tell you how many times.
That's a genius hack. I haven't even thought about that.
Oh, yeah. And let me tell you, that got me through. I had Chegg. I rented my textbooks for a lot of my undergrad.
Wow.
And I would send them back afterwards. But like now that I'm older and I have some adult money, I've been buying my old textbooks and like going back and like just find, and they're like $30 on Amazon. And now I have the damn thing and I can go back and reference it. So that's a great one. Also, there are places like OpenStax and LibreText, which have they're available online for free. And you can get the PDF for free and read it all day long, or you can buy a copy. This is my psychology textbook. It was $40 and it's brand new and it's the newest edition because OpenStax sends them out for free. This is funded, I think, through Rice University. And you can buy a really high quality textbook in a lot of topics for next to nothing. So check that out as well. It's a great option. And just find good books. Just make sure when you do find books that you know where they're coming from a little bit, because any asshole can write a book. And so kind of explore that a little bit. That gets you there. Another thing you can do that's really helpful, go on scholar.google.com. Or just look up Google Scholar. You'll find it real easy. And that is an instant access to scientific papers. It'll give you access to the literature, as we call it. And so you type in whatever you want to learn about, and you have just a Google search engine pulling up scientific papers. A lot of those, when you click on them, it's behind a paywall. But if you go just on the bottom, it'll have the title of the paper, it'll have the authors and a bunch of other details, and it'll have some blue links there at the bottom. And the very last of those blue links says like, see all X amount of versions of this. A lot of the time, more often than not, if you click that, it'll show you all the different versions of that paper that are across the internet. One of them is going to be a PDF. And now you have the paper for free. And you can read that paper. And what's important about reading scientific papers is you don't just read the text and go, okay, now I know this thing. The point of scientific literature, unlike a textbook where you are just learning it to absorb information, the point of scientific literature is to ask follow-up questions. And so you read this paper, you read a little bit of it, just read like the introduction, get the background, read the discussion section, see what the implications of this paper are. Don't waste your time with the materials and methods right now. If you're not going to be a scientist, don't worry about it in a moment. Just focus on the background and the implications. What the hell is this paper actually talking about? That's the point of all of this? And then check if there's anything you don't understand. It'll have citations and references. You can go check. Or you can look it up online. You can just, it's used this word. I don't know. Go to Google, look up that word. Get your textbook that you bought on Amazon, look up that word. And then get this, you have this new conclusion. Take the conclusion, write it out in your own words, put that shit into Google. Is it true that blah, blah, blah? And see who else is talking about it. And follow up on that education and learn a little bit more and learn a little bit more. And don't just take whatever you're reading as
Mhm.
face value. That's what it is. Follow up with it. Learn a little bit more. Ask some questions. I remember when I was in the last year of my bachelor's, I took this ecology class. It was community and invasion ecology.
Wow.
It was one of the toughest classes I'd ever taken at the time, because the whole thing was read these papers, come back next week ready to talk about them. Now that is all of grad school, but I had never done that before in my in bachelor's. I had no idea. And so we read this one paper. I remember the second week of that class. I remember it like it was yesterday, because the first week he gives us these papers, takes them. I'm like, oh yeah, I can read a paper. I've read a paper before. Blah, blah, blah. I come back to class the second week, and he's like, all right, so there was like 4 of us in the class. He's like, Forrest, tell me, what was this paper about? I recite everything that I learned from the paper. He goes, cool, yeah. Was it right? And I'm like, what do you mean, are they right? It's in a paper. Of course it's right. And he's like, yeah, but like, did you notice this graph? They're measuring species, and they have like half a species counted here. What does that mean? And I'm like, fuck, you're right. I don't know what that means. I just read it, and I thought it was true because I read it. And like, I had to learn how to learn. And that's such a big part of it.
That's good. Yes.
That you got to pick up if you don't have a science background, is you're not just memorizing information. You are learning where to get new information from and how to learn this stuff. I'm not a microbiologist, but I've taken some microbiology classes. So if somebody comes to me and says some crazy shit about some bacteria, I don't know every bacteria off the top of my head, but I know where to look. And I know whether if it says online, this is a gram-negative bacteria, I know what that means. I know the implications of that. I know how to treat and cure this. I know what to do with it. I know how it's going to survive. I know all this information comes out because I know the background information. So don't go into science expecting to learn every single little thing. You're learning how to learn, and then you get better as you go. That's the sermon. I'm going to shut up there because I've been talking.
This is amazing. Like, holy shit, there's so much you just said here. One of the things is like when I'm I always tell people, intelligence is not knowing what you know, it's knowing what you don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what drives the curiosity. It's at that moment, then you become curious about the things you don't know. I even used to teach my children when they were struggling with the problem, forget what you know about it. What is it that you don't know about this problem? That's where the gap is. Otherwise you're going to be frustrated. And so I've been working on trying to model ways to help people learn for a while. And I was actually, before I started doing this content, I was working on an app that would kind of do some things. But big point was, I was working on a model at that time about the way knowledge building kind of works in the mind. And what I realized, and this is what I love about you said, most people approach learning from this place of passive memorization. I'm going to read something, I'm going to either agree or disagree. And I noticed this one time because a few months ago, last year, I did a video reading Sam Harris's book on morality, which is an excellent book. But Sam had said you got it.
This bitch up here, the moral landscape.
Yes, that one. Yes,
it's a really good book. Yeah,
it is excellent. So I was gonna read just a few chapters of it on my channel. People got really mad because Sam has said some unfortunate things.
Oh, yeah.
But I was so taken back by the way people responded. And of course I didn't continue doing it, but I was taken back by the way people responded, because I realized, like, you guys do realize that's not how academics read. We don't read just people we agree with on everything. And of course this book isn't even about the things that he said that we don't agree with. And that's one of those things that just reminded me that we often get stuck into that place of, no, if I'm reading this, then I agree with it. And I'm like, that's not even how learning works. No. I'm exposing myself to information. And this just goes back to that thing that intelligence is knowing what you do not know. It's knowing when you do not have enough information about a subject to even be able to read what somebody else said and know what the hell they're saying. And so it's all at that moment, you have to get more data points. And so, and that's something that I also often tell people when they're approaching a new subject and they're like, it's confusing. Of course it is. You don't have enough marbles in there yet for those things to be bouncing around and actually making contact. So you've got to get some more marbles in there, some more data points. So just it's going to be confusing. It's going to be not understandable for you. It's like trying to do gymnastics. If you've never done gymnastics, you don't have the muscle memory yet, But I love that you highlighted that point. And then just also real quickly, and then I'm gonna ask a question.
Sure.
just what you open up with about how to find the information. Going all the way down to the bottom, looking at those links, finding that PDF. And that reminded me of a little exercise that teachers used to do when we were in elementary school. And they'd say, before you do anything on this paper, read all the instructions, read all the way down to the bottom, you know?
Yep.
And that was just that flashback, because I would have some teachers who would have something tricky at the bottom, like, hey, you don't actually have to do this test, you know, something like that.
Yep.
And so you'd have people who do all of this stuff. And so I just want to remind everybody who's watching this is that thoracity, that's my own word, I said it, thoracity is key, being thorough with your concern. So when you go there and you look and you say, oh man, they're not going to give me access, don't stop reading there. Read everything that's on that page, because that's what obviously for you to find that's what you would have had to done. You would have had to keep on looking all the way down there. And that's like, that's what dedication is. That's what tenacity is. That's what resilience is. You got to make the decision. If you want this information, you got to get it. And if there is a paywall, knock that motherfucker down. No, so I love this.
What's that 15-foot ladder or something like that? That website that lets you get behind paywall. And like, yeah, no, you're right. I was a informal science educator for a long time, which in Oklahoma we cut education funding like crazy. And so rather than funding schools hire informal educators, museum educators, whatever, to come out and do workshops, classes, and things like that. So it's how we kind of handle it. So I did that job for like a decade. And I would do that. Like, we would go out into school and I would be teaching these kids that I've never met before, something about polymer chemistry, something about engineering, something about whatever. They're doing these little tasks. And over and over and over, every single day without fail, I'd have some kid get really frustrated and really upset and be like, I can't do this. The math is too hard. The chemistry isn't working. The whatever. I can't do this. And I was like, okay, when was the last time you did this? Never. So you've never done this before and you expected to get it right now? Why? Try it 30 times before you get frustrated. Like, that's don't do that. And like, that's exactly right. That tenacity, that stick-to-itiveness, that refusal to let something go, that is the core of education. And so is getting outside your comfort zone. I love that you read Sam Harris. I thought he made some great points in that book, regardless of some of the other crap that he said that I strongly disagree with. Same thing with Richard Dawkins. I still recommend his book, The Greatest Show on Earth. It's a phenomenal book if you want to understand a little bit about evolution. Fuck most of what he says on other things. But like, just that's a great damn book. And even then, like, I read people that I strongly disagree with about the stuff we disagree on, because you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. And that's a good thing for me to know. And worst case scenario is I agree with them. And then guess what? I've learned something new. And that's the best part. The best part about being wrong is that you learned a new thing if you have the spine to admit it. And the best case scenario is I've now learned why I was right. Okay, this doesn't make any damn sense. And I am now better equipped to go out and teach somebody something better. Anyway, I'm sorry. I know you have questions. Everything you said there just jumped out to me.
That is so fucking refreshing, man. Cause like, that's life. Like, I tell people when I deconverted, one of the most freeing things that I discovered about myself, because a part of my deconversions, I didn't like where my life was. My life was falling apart. I'm this successful pastor, but inside I'm falling apart. And then I'm like, that was actually freeing. It was very freeing for me to realize that for me, there was no God. And like, that next step was like, Darante, you're the fucking problem. You're the one that's making the decisions. You're the one that's doing this shit. That was the most liberating feeling I ever had, because it was like, if I'm the problem, then I can fix it. If someone else is the problem, I can't do anything about it. Like, if it really is a demon or a god or anything, I can't do shit. But if it's just me, I can fix that. I can work on me. And like, that's so liberating. That's why I'm not afraid of being wrong. I'm looking like, please let me know if I'm wrong. I love it. Man. Okay. All right. So before I go too far, you do learn more that way. And then like, once you remove yourself, especially for those who are former Christians, once you remove yourself from this idea of a fixed reality, of a static world where God created everything, set everything in stone, and there's this prototypical human, once you release yourself from that, life becomes full of beauty and possibility. Your own life becomes like, you begin to realize like what you were afraid of is not having the freedom to write your own life. And then you're like, no, that freedom really is freedom to write my life, to live my life, to decide what I want to do with it. It's amazing, man. And then to see that people like you who are not, were you raised in belief at all?
in the weirdest way possible.
I love that. But to see you, like, you on this side of belief and you're passionate about educating other people. That's something that when I was a pastor, I wouldn't have believed. I wouldn't have believed that there's these atheists out here who actually want to help the world. No, when you're an atheist, you don't want to help anybody but yourself, you know?
That's what it's all about, worshiping you. That's what atheists worship themselves. They worship humans.
Jordan Peterson has entered the chat, ladies and gentlemen.
Praise Darwin.
So how did you actually get passionate about science? Where does this passion come from for you?
I can't tell you. It's my whole life. I've just wanted to know more stuff. I hate not knowing things. It bothers me.
Yes.
And I especially I love being a part of this world. I love what this world is. And I just want to explore it and talk about it and share it. I grew up watching Jeff Corwin and Steve Irwin, and I wanted to be those guys. And I used to go around in my neighborhood as a kid, and every frog and toad and lizard and snake and whatever else I could catch, I would be teaching about it to the invisible camera in front of me because I just wanted so badly to tell people about these animals. I would, books I couldn't understand, I would just stare at them hoping that I could absorb something about, whatever fungus or whatever plant or whatever thing was written about in the book. And I just always wanted to be able to do more and be more and know more and help more. And you do that just through quiet contemplation and education by paying the fuck attention. And getting out of your own bubble. Like, that's the biggest thing that people, I think when people hear the word university, they just think about like sitting in a classroom and listening to some asshole tell you what's what. But at the end of the day, university it is a universal experience.
Ooh, that's
the
good.
point of university is getting out of your comfort zone, out of your bubble, out of your own way, and exploring other ideas, other cultures, other people, things you do agree with, things you don't agree with. And the cool thing about one of the few good things about my childhood was that we did that a lot. We went to every cultural and religious festival we could. We went to the opening of every new temple, every new mosque, every new cathedral. We went all around to every kind of celebration that anybody was having to learn what was going on there and what they were all about. And I was exposed to a lot of different religions and a lot of different philosophies and a lot of different ideas and a lot of different mythology. I was raised not on the teachings of Jesus, but on the teachings of Hercules and Zeus and Apollo and all these and the stories of Bast and Osiris and Horus.
Wow.
And, like, I was given like more information about about Thor and Odin and Tyr than I was about Christ and Muhammad and anything else. I was given a very broad and diverse explanation of these things. And like I said, I was raised religious in the dumbest way possible. We were pagan, and we had this vague idea that like every religion, especially the old polytheistic ones, had like some bits of truth and chunks in. Like, these are actual like demigods and that are like have regional control. There's not like one big overarching one. And so like I would learn about all these different gods and all these different stories and all these different ideas and all these different cultures and all these different religions and all these different things. And it made me a better scientist, because then when I looked at, pick your favorite thing, some worm or some bacterium or some weird lizard from the other side of the world, and it does these crazy things that you'd never expect, and it makes no sense. I'm like, that's not that weird. Everybody's different. It's fine. This is what it does. This is weird. The cool thing about biology that people don't understand, people who are not biologists think that biology works like other sciences, where you notice a pattern and you just draw a box around that pattern, and then you have this definitive rule of the universe. And the thing about biology is that if you think you understand biology, you need to turn over one more rock, and you will realize you do not understand biology. And because we're not just learning this strict, precise rules of the world, we are learning to speak to nature in its own language. And that's what science is all about. And especially biology, that's what it's all about. And so growing up that way, with that universal background and that universal expectation and that globalist worldview, going into university, then no fucking big deal. And going into biology, then I think it set me apart from a lot of my peers, because I was a lot more capable to adapt to new weird information and to understand how messy and how fuzzy and how wild and gross and weird and beautiful and magnificent nature really is.
Man, okay, you just said something that just kind of blew my mind a little bit, man. You said science is our way of like almost like communicating with nature. It's
In
our
its
way
own
of
language.
in its own language. And for the first time, I've never. This is the first time I've ever had this thought.
Hmm.
Is that holy shit? There is a language barrier between us and nature, and
Absolutely.
it's been science that's been helping us kind of bridge. That is wild. I've never thought about that because, like, you know, when you think of like we just watched Independence Day yesterday, I guess. Yeah, or the day before. We watched Independence Day. You know, you got the alien invasion and stuff. And I always think about alien invasions and I'm like, oh, there's this huge language barrier in most cases,
Yeah.
unless they're super duper advanced. So they're gonna fuck us up if they're here. Because they, you know, it's like you don't hear what ants are saying, so you don't mind when you're pouring
Right.
shit on their stuff to get them out your yard, you know. And so, but you know, and I've never looked at us just with nature, period. Like, you know, I've always looked at it with the animals and stuff. Like, yeah, there's this language barrier, but literally, no, there's been this language barrier between us and reality. There's been this language barrier between us and the world we live in, and science has become one of the most effective tools of learning that language. That's like that's mind blowing.
You think about it in terms of like, you know, mathematics is a great way of saying it.
Yes.
Like the you know, you could spend a long time studying math and like start to get a really good handle on it, but at the end of the day, the solar system speaks math fluently. You know what I mean? Your circulatory system speaks math fluently. The when you look at most systems in your body, I was just like, so for example, like your kidneys, right? You've got these in these little renal tubes, these little corpuscles, you've got these little centers, and I don't remember what the fuck they're called off the top of my head, but these little orbs for filtration. And the blood vessel going in, because it's just filtering your blood, right? Your blood vessel going into this little thing, pumping blood in, is much, much, much bigger than the blood vessel coming out. So you've got a lot of blood flow going in, a little tiny trickle coming out. That creates a high pressure system, which allows for better filtration, allows all the crap to get pushed past this semi-permeable membrane out there, and it makes the shit. And if you study physics, of course that's how you. And you tell some physicists, they know nothing about biology. You tell a physicist, listen, I want to make a system where I can clean stuff in a fluid. I can like get all the solutes out of this fluid and get pure fluid on the other side. And they'd be like, oh, you just build a high pressure system with a low pressure gradient coming out. And guess what? That's how fucking reverse osmosis filters work. We built that. We built that thing, and that's how we desalinate water and stuff now, because our kidneys have been doing it for millions of years. And it's just like you because if you learn the math, you now speak that language a little bit better. And the same thing goes for ecology. The same thing goes for evolution. The same thing goes for cell bio, for microbio, for macrobio, for every other part of it. The same thing goes. If you can learn to speak this in its own language, because if you interpret it in your language, you're going to get it wrong. You put a deep probe, a deep probe into the brain of some rat to stimulate some part of the brain and see what it's going to do and to learn what this part of the brain does. And you zap this part of the brain and the rat jumps on top of a mouse and just destroys it, just rips it apart and eats the shit out of it. And you're like, oh, I found the violent murder part of the brain. Cool. Here's how I'm interpreting that in my language, is that this is the part of the brain to turning you into a sociopath. Wonderful. I found that. And then you do that to a human. You zap that part of the brain and the human gets out of the chair and he goes to the kitchen and he makes a sandwich and just demolishes that sandwich. And it's like, oh, actually, rats eat mice. I found the hunger part of the brain. That's what I found, because I wasn't speaking nature's language. I was interpreting it into my language and I was getting it wrong. And that's the story of a lot of science, is like we're going back and we're relooking at a lot of old ideas and a lot of old data. And we're like, oh shit, if you actually pay attention to this and get yourself out of it, get your brain out of it and put it in nature's brain, it makes much more sense and it all falls into place. That's a whole other thing. So
no, but it's context, right? Because I know anthropology is going through that right now, where there's a lot of artifacts that are having to be reinterpreted because we imposed a lot of our common interpretations on those things. And so it's very funny. Like I wrote a book a few years ago. Oh, that was last year. How Christ Held Up, about just the idea, right? Even just the idea of Christ being of a Christian Christ is actually antithetical to a Jewish Messiah. These two things are not congruent in any shape, form, or fashion. But the only way we think that it is because we kind of do the same thing. We impose our ideas on the text, because one thing I've reminded former believers of, most of what you believe about the Bible, you believed about the Bible before you ever read it. You hadn't read it yet. You already believe these things. So when you're reading it, you're superimposing your understandings on it, robbing it of its context,
Yeah.
So I absolutely love that. All right, so let's get into some of this, man. Like, damn, I did not expect this to be this good.
It's only been 50 minutes.
Right?
We haven't started the interview yet.
I hope y'all have been enjoying this, because this was not what was planned. This was I still have like 6 pages of questions here, But no, like this has been beautiful. Like, I'm super excited that we did this. My one of my questions is really because, as a person who's committed to community development, which of course much of that comes from my pastoral past. That was my passion, building community. That's what church was for me. But then also when I got into sociology, it became community building became mathematical for me. So prior to that, building a church was about prayer and fasting. Building a church was about waiting on the Lord and getting these feelings in your gut to say, I think this is the right part, and all that shit. But getting my degree allowed me to actually break this thing down into the math, into the science, into understanding industrial organizational psychology, how people operate, why people operate, what motivates people. And that was like a breath of fresh air for me, because it meant I no longer had to do all of this guessing. And I think a part of my neurospicy is I fucking hate question marks. I hate having to guess. I hate question marks. I want to know. Like, I realized, like something you said earlier, like my thirst is for knowledge. I realized that maybe about a decade ago, that some people thirst for fame, some people thirst for power. My thirst is knowledge. I want to know. I want to understand, because then it helps me navigate. It helps me navigate. So that passion led me to realizing, like, how many like strong organizations had modeled themselves after biology. There were so many. Reed Hastings, when he became the CEO of Netflix, he instituted a policy there, which was one of the first times this had ever been done in corporate culture, of no breaks, no lunches, no schedules. His idea was, you're adults, you know what the work is, get the work done, and as long as the work is done, nobody cares.
That's why I love Reed Hastings.
Yes, like, it was amazing.
I've never actually heard of him before. I'm just into it now.
That is awesome. It was like, man, it was mind-blowing for me, because I had always thought, like, why don't we do things different? And what he was doing in his mind is his mind was nature, cellular formation is self-organizing. And what if our organization could be the same way? What if we could be self-organizing? And it was a thought experiment that led him there. The thought experiment was, why don't we trust people? Why do we have to do it this way? Why don't we trust people? And it's like, well, we don't trust people because in his mind, we don't hire good people. And so he said, I'm going to hire good people from now on. I'm going to hire adults and then treat them like adults. And so the question I want to ask is, when it comes to cellular self-organization, when it comes to biology, when it comes to how we are made up, is there anything that we can learn, that we can use in how we organize communities, how we even that may influence our activism, that may influence our education? Is there more that we can learn from our own cellular makeup, our own molecular makeup, that can give us some inspiration, some insight, or even strategy in how we organize ourselves in society?
It's a good question. Yeah, it's a fun bridge to build, because, like, at the end of the day, like, I think if I had to draw anything, it would be similar to the lesson that you were already given here, is that, like, these things, not a single one of your cells has a brain. And yet your cells, make up your brain, and they make up the rest of you. And they're doing all this shit largely without any instructions. They just kind of are focused. And now you can say, oh, well, they have DNA, or, oh, they're getting a neuron signal, or, well, they're blah, blah, blah. But, like, take for example, E. coli, it's a really common bacteria, lives in your butt. And they what's cool about them is if you have a bunch of E. coli growing on an agar plate, and you have, some other bacteria over here, some other species that's growing and encroaching in the area where they're trying to grow, they will commit mass suicide to produce cytotoxins. So cyto means cell, and so they will produce toxins that kill other species of bacteria, and they will kill themselves to do it. They will just go into overdrive producing this toxin until they explode with poison, and they poison this area and kill all these other bacteria. But all the other E. coli behind them, they can survive just fine in that environment, and then they grow bigger than they already were. The community grows bigger than it already was because this little cluster of them off themselves in order to create new living area for them. Not a single one of these motherfuckers has a brain. Not a single one of these motherfuckers has a Bible. Not a single one of these motherfuckers has morality. Not a single one of these motherfuckers knows what sacrifice even means. They didn't think about what they were doing. They just did it as a response to stimuli. And so, like, you look at tiny things like that, and you're like, yes. I can understand the inherent virtue of protecting my community, of giving myself to make my community better, to make my population better, to make my family better off. All these things that we would call like these great, elevated, and enlightened virtues, like fucking butt bacteria do it, y'all. And so, like, that, I think maybe that, and then I love the self-organizing aspect of it, and the way that people know what they're doing, and you can guide people, but if you try to control people, you're going to do it all wrong. Tell your kidneys what to do right now. You won't, but you can guide them in the right direction by drinking lots of water. That's a good thing you can do. It's things like that I think would probably be my lesson if I was going to give a lesson. It's just like, there's a lot to be said about the inherent quality of people and how we kind of just know more or less what's right. And then that's going to fly entirely in the face of the next thing that I would say, which is all about how education and social structure really matters, and how you can teach anybody to be good or bad, and how whether somebody behaves in a terrible way or a wonderful way is a lot to do with how they were raised and how they're taught to perceive things, and politics and linguistic relativism and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, I agree with Anne Frank. I think people are generally good.
I like that.
On their own. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I love that. And I do like that you hit the point that social structures are important. Education is definitely important. I know one of the things that I do run into with my work sometimes is that just when dealing with people, when you have someone who comes from a household that wasn't healthy, then for most cases, what I've seen is in order for that person to improve their chances of being healthy, they'd have to recognize that the family itself was unhealthy. And that's like a big bridge for people, because then it's one thing knowing you don't like the way you feel in your family. It's another thing to come to that place to be able to say, oh, my family is not healthy. And that's a big bridge for many people to cross. But I've discovered that those who do make that bridge and say, you know what, my family is unhealthy, I don't think I want any parts of that, they end up having a better chance of coming out of that situation less negatively impacted. But because that is such a hard bridge to cross, many people don't do it. Many people internalize, instead of saying, this family environment is not healthy, they determine that I'm just not healthy, or I must just be doing this wrong. And so they end up praising the dysfunction of the family, which is going to cause them to emulate it, which is sad, which is why those structures are so important. That is something that I do kind of commit myself to trying to figure out. But the hard thing about this is, and this is a little bit of a tangent, the hard thing about this is, especially when I was working with believers, is when you get people to the table to try to solve a problem, most of them already wanted to have the solution in mind. Yeah. Instead of realizing that, like, no, we have to come and think this shit through. And so this is one of the reasons I remind people that the scientific method is not just for the lab, it's for life.
Yep.
But most of us just want to come together and just like, no, this idea I have is really great. And let's just do my idea. You know, this is how, like, in a community where there's gun violence, somebody has an idea. What are we going to do to stop gun violence? We're going to give away Nikes and everybody's going to be happy. And I'm like, whoa, that's the idea we had for solving gun violence? Like, yikes. No, I think you're probably going to increase this problem at this moment if you actually think first, second, and third order consequences here. Right. I think we might have just instigated the problem. But no, I like the because we've talked about so much. I just love the idea of us focusing on the societal structures and the education piece.
Yeah.
But getting people excited about education is another challenge in itself.
It is hard.
I have to know, did you go to public school?
I did. In fact, not only did I go to public school, I graduated from the Broken Arrow Alternative Academy, which was the place where they sent the bad kids who weren't supposed to graduate.
Wow. So I was going to ask, what was your experience with public education?
Bad.
Oh, I'm not the only one. All right. Yes.
Yeah, no, I grew up in a little town called Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, which is just outside of Tulsa. If you trip and fall in Broken Arrow, you'll land in Tulsa. It's this tiny little place just right there.
Whoa.
And if you're into marching bands at all, you've probably heard the name Broken Arrow because we had like the pride of Broken Arrow, they were called. They were just these amazing marching band that went and played for the president or some shit when I was in school. It was crazy. And that's the one thing they have going on for them. We in Oklahoma, we lead the nation in cuts to education funding. My entire life, I would be in a class of 30 to 50 kids with probably about 25 desks in the class and kids sitting in the back and kids sitting on the floor and kids doing whatever. And I didn't understand. I thought the people just didn't care because we'd have one tired, burned out teacher that would hand out a worksheet and be like, this is due tomorrow. I'll teach you how to do it next week. And when the benchmark tests run around because No Child Left Behind passed in my life, it's like, I really don't care what you do 80% of the year. When testing time comes along, I'm going to teach you how to pass that test. And that's my job, is to get you to pass the benchmark test so that the school gets funding. That's all we do. And that's how I was brought up in these schools, and it sucked. And I didn't realize at the time that my teachers were making less money than a manager at a gas station. That's not an exaggeration. We have a gas station chain here in Tulsa called Quick Trip, and there was a news story that came out back when I believe I was still in high school when it came out that said a 5-year teacher with like these great salaries and benefits and everything makes significantly less money than somebody who's a manager at a Quick Trip here in Tulsa. And that, why the fuck would you? And you make more money walking across the stage with your education degree in Kansas than you do teaching in Oklahoma for 10 years. Why? Why are you doing it? Why are you going to do it? Why are you here? And when I learned that shit and I started doing informal education, I would go out in these schools and the kids would be like, we love you, Mr. Forrest. We learned so much. We hate our teacher. I'm like, don't ever say you hate your teacher, because your teacher is working 80 hours a week for your dumbass and getting paid nothing. So they are here because they love you. You don't see it yet, but let me tell you, I see it now. I've been on both sides and I'm telling you, they love you. They wouldn't be doing this otherwise. And like that. So when I finally, I also had just a shit terrible home life. And so my whole public school career, I'm like, okay, these people don't care about me. I can't get any work done. I'm not doing any homework at home because there's no way I can get away with it. You know what I mean? I've no stable environment to do any work in. And so I failed. I got straight Fs every single class, straight Fs from 6th grade through 10th grade. I just stopped trying. The second I wasn't in 5th grade and in elementary school, you're doing all your work there in class, you turn it in, there's nothing to worry about. The second they put the responsibility on me, I stopped trying. And I decided, and most of the time I was fucking bored. Like I would pay attention, I'd listen in class and I got it. And then they'd have to say the same thing 80 times and I was bored. And because of my IQ as a kid, they put me in the gifted and talented program. So I took all these, like, they called it Kaleidoscope when I was a kid. And then they called it Forum when it was in middle school and all this stuff. So I was in all these like advanced classes and shit, failing everything because I was just sitting and I got it. If we did a class project, I aced it. If we did something where we had to write, I aced it. If we did a presentation, I aced it. But if they gave me something to take home or a test, just random answers, or I would turn nothing in. Until finally, they were like, hey, you're going to be held back. You got to do something. So I started taking night school and summer school classes. And guess what? Night school and summer school, you don't get homework. Night school and summer school, you're sitting there in the class for several hours, you do the work. Guess what I did? I got straight fucking A's in night school and summer school. And then they jacked up my transcript, and they're like, all right, well, we don't know what's going on. The fourth time I went into the counselor's office and recited all the night school classes and the professors and the grade I had gotten and all these things, and they're like, oh, we don't know why your transcript says you took Oklahoma history 8 times and never passed it once. That doesn't make any sense. It's like, of course it doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about? And finally, they sent me to the Alternative Academy, which was small class sizes. It was for kids they called them at-risk students, which means you were at risk of not graduating. Yeah. And you go to this school. They have smaller class sizes. They have block scheduling. So you have one set of classes on this day and then a different set of classes on that day, and you alternate back and forth, which means you're taking more classes than you do in normal school. Yep. And you're getting more credits and catching up on your credits. And they looked at me and they're like, hey, why are you in this grade? Your transcript's insane. And I was like, I've been telling them for 6 months my transcript's insane. I've been keep trying to. They fixed it in 24 hours. And they were like, okay, well, you can go back to the regular high school. I'm like, no, thank you. You're the first person to give a damn. You're the first person to fix this. You're the first person to give me a chance. And guess what I did? I got straight A's all through academy because I'm doing my work in class, and I'm in a small class where I can talk to the teacher, and we're doing alternative education strategies. It's not the same as a public school where we're just kind of regurgitating whatever information. Yep. They have a little more of a hands-on approach there. We have the same exact classes, same exact curriculum, same exact standards, same exact testing, and we're doing great. And so that experience where I graduated on time, I graduated, I think, with extra classes under my belt and with straight A's. Suddenly I kind of saw how education could be different and how it could be tailored to somebody and how it could work in a way that actually benefits the individual rather than just being this corporate thing where it's all about profits. So it's all about funding. It's all about getting kids in and out. Yep. It reminds me, there's this story. My first degree, like I said, was in education. We read this story in one of my classes during that degree. It was just called The Blueberry Story. You can look it up. It's very famous. And it's this story of this guy who is a business man, and he makes blueberry ice cream. That's like his company. And he gets hired by this school district to come out and teach the school district how to run a business and how to make a profitable school district and all this shit. And he goes up there and he does this whole speech about success and synergy and all the corporate words and all this stuff, And this teacher in the front row says, you make the best ice cream in the world, right? And he goes, hell yes, I do. You're damn right. She goes, what do you do if you get a batch of bad blueberries shipped in? He says, I send that shit back. I'm not working with anything but the best ingredients. She says, that's exactly right. We don't send the blueberries back. We get ours tired, medicated, over-medicated, under-medicated, abused, neglected, hungry, starving, sleep deprived. We get all of them, and we make the same great product, which is a functional human being. Wow. You get the luxury of telling us how to run our business when you don't run it like ours at all. And I thought about that but ever since then, I've thought about that. And ever since my experience in public education, I've thought about that kind of shit. The point is to improve somebody's life so that they can go out and improve other people's lives. And you don't fucking do that by running education the way that we run it in this country, which is based on property taxes. You fund your school based on how rich you are. So the way you are born determines your educational advantage and your opportunities. And we don't run it the way that we do in this country, where we say you have to pass this fucking test, otherwise you're stupid, you don't know anything. And we track kids so you stay with the stupid kids and you stay with the smart kids, and you have different levels of differential success. Bull fucking shit. It can be better and it should be better, and that's what my education taught me. Fuck a lot of our public schools. Not the people in them, just the way that they're run.
Absolutely. Oh snap! I love this, and I hope y'all really lean into that, because Forrest just walked us through him starting off at straight Fs. And there are so many people who give up there. There are so many people who, even today as adults, they think, oh, because I got bad grades in high school, I am not smart. And I'm like, man, it really doesn't work that way. So I'm so glad you shared that. And I want to share almost the opposite of that. My story was a little different. I was a straight
How you went from A's to F's? Tell me about it.
Well, it was like I maintained straight A's and B's all throughout school, but I didn't know anything. I did not understand the information.
Yep.
Um, Math, it was just pattern recognition for me. So I'm guessing and like bluffing my way through. It was just memorizing this stuff, but I had
Mm-hmm.
no understanding. And I didn't realize that until like 2015. I graduated high school in 2004. I didn't realize this until like 2015. And I was sitting like in my kitchen. And because I don't even know why, because I wasn't even thinking about my weight, but I was a big boy. And I was just like, I don't know why I eat. And my wife was like, what do you mean? I'm like literally, I went through biology, but as a human being, I don't know why I eat. Like at this
Yeah.
moment, at that moment in my life, I literally only ate because something smelled good, tastes good, look good, sound good.
Yeah.
It was five senses
Yeah.
type of thing. I'm not engaging an informational relationship with my eating habits. I'm not eating for nutrition. I'm not eating for energy. I'm not eating for fiber. I'm not eating for sugar. I'm just eating food. And that seems to be a bad way to approach life. Maybe not bad, just not the best way. Not the best way to approach life if I want to actually be able to manage my life and navigate it. So I'm leaving it to chance. And so it became really critical to me at that moment in 2015, like 10 years, 11 years after I've graduated high school, 1 year after I've gotten my first degree, of realizing like I know a bunch of shit that doesn't help me at all. And then the stuff that I really need to know, I haven't even tried to learn. And that's when I was like, okay, I've got to approach life differently now. And that's actually where my passion came from. Like, so I went through all school being known as smart, never really
Mm-hmm.
feeling smart. You know,
Yep.
everybody's like, oh, Darante's the smart guy. And I'm like, like when people would want to cheat off my papers, I'm like, I don't know if you should do that, bro. Uh, every time my fingers are crossed, every time I submit a
Every
paper,
time.
the only thing I was confident in was like literature
Mhm.
stuff. I was always confident in. I would get in trouble because I didn't cite sources and when writing essays and stuff, but it was because I never used anybody else's sources. It was always my ideas, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's my ideas. I don't like other people's ideas. That's how I was back then. But no, I love that. So I straight A's all through, but didn't understand a thing. And here you were, straight F's in the beginning, and you actually understood it. You knew the information, and I
Mhm.
wanted to highlight that because man, there's so many people who like define their lives by that high school, middle school experience.
Mhm.
They define how what they can know. I was
Yep.
straight A's, didn't know a damn thing. It took me almost a decade to actually start giving myself a chance to learn. And after that, I became a madman. I taught myself how to program and PHP, C Sharp, JavaScript, all of this shit. And it was just on a like, oh shit, what else can I do? Started
Mhm.
realizing, oh, I can lose weight. I can navigate this. Okay, there's probably some other skills that I can add to myself that I've been sleeping on. And that wasn't something that I got from some guru. It was just understanding the science of me,
Yep.
understanding the science of me, that people can do what people can do. And if I don't try, I'm not gonna, if I'm afraid because I don't understand something that I've never done before, then I'm
Mhm.
never gonna do anything. And that's actually what helped me understand why I was not understanding information in school. When I was going through I took what was that fucking class called? CS, Computer Science 50. It's a free
Yeah. Yeah.
course they do at Harvard. And so I was taking that and I was going through all of the courses and I was like, I don't know what the fuck this man is talking about. Like I'm listening and I'm like, and he was a great instructor, Dr. Milan, great instructor, very charismatic, but I'm like, I really don't know what he's saying. And at one point it finally hit me. Some of the words he were using were just arbitrary. But because I didn't know the context, I was hyper focusing on every word that he was using and feeling like I was lost because I didn't understand those words. And then he introduced me to the concept of variables, which of course
Mhm.
we were introduced to in middle school math. But again, I was getting the answers right, but I didn't know what the fuck those things were. And
Mhm.
then, but he started talking about variables, and I was like, oh, he's actually talking in variables. The variable is arbitrary. It's X, Y, Z, whatever the fuck you want to use it. Don't hyper focus on that shit. That's why you're losing this. Focus on the
Uh-huh.
other stuff. And
Yeah.
little things like that just begin to like kind of unlock my mind and help me understand more. And I've been like a madman ever since. So I describe myself as hyper productive because I feel like I slept on myself for so long. So now, like I'm anything that I can find, put my mind to do, I'm doing. Like I'm there. All right. So I do have another question for you.
It is addictive.
It is addictive, right? Oh shit! I like the way that you said that. It really is addictive. There are things out there like on YouTube, like Kurskazat and Crash Course.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of these?
Love them.
That was really going to be my question. What are your thoughts on these as resources for people to use to get access to information?
They're amazing. So Hank Green is the one who runs the Crash Course. He and his brother John Green. Hank does more of the science stuff. He's a great guy. I loved giving his kids toys that he hates to ruin his house. We were at VidCon a couple of years ago. They were giving away these toys that became really popular for exactly the reason you think. It's a stuffed animal with extra like fluff, like the felt fluff stuff around the outside. You know what I mean? They wove more of that on the outside, but wasn't secured to anything. So the whole point was just to rip it out and to like just you pick all the fur off of this animal, and then you have a new stuffed animal underneath, and then you also have a fucking pile of this fuzz that's everywhere. And so we're at VidCon, and they're giving these things away to all the kids, and I run into John. He's there with his two little ones. And we're talking about these things like, yeah, this shit's all over my fucking hotel room. Like, I can't. It's going to be a nightmare. Like, I feel so bad for those people who have to clean that up. And I was like, oh, don't feel bad for them, sir. Feel bad for me reaching in my bag because they've given me plenty of free samples, and I'm giving them to their kids. And I'm like, here, wait till you get home. Wait till you get home and take these apart. And he's just like, why? We were friends. Why would you do this?
I love that, man.
One of my favorite memories of that man. Anyway, but yeah, they're amazing people, and they run an amazing company, and they do amazing work at making education real and making it something that actually matters. And I love them for that. I think they do it in a really exceptional way. Kierkegaard, or however the fuck. As I don't speak German, right? I'm a free American, and I have too much liberty to pronounce that word. They also do amazing work, and they teach stuff in some really, really cool ways. There are several of their shows that I really look up to. The way that they're able to incorporate really fucking good music. The company that does their music is called Epic Mountain. And so there's really, really good music along with compelling visuals. And I know it's cartoon, but like they have a personality to the way that they make their stuff. I try to make my videos a lot like that. I'm inspired a lot by them in the way that they're able to really make you feel something rather than just learn something. And that's what I want my lessons to be. I want people to leave my lectures and my videos and my seminars and anything else. If you see me in person or over the screen, I want people to feel like they went to science class and church at the same time. You know what I mean? I want them to come away with that feeling intellectually and emotionally stimulated. And so I think they're amazing people. They do great work. And if you want to learn from them, please do. There are a lot of other great channels out there, though. Gutsick Gibbon, a good friend of mine. She's fantastic. Look her up.
Wow.
There's give me a second because I don't remember anybody's damn actual handles. So let me just go over here really quickly to my subscriptions list and see who I remember. Oh, God. Can I see the actual list of them? That would be great. Oh, hey, it says Darante LaMar is on. Hell yeah.
Look at there.
Flip Space for Humans. I just did a collab with them. They're run by Arizona State University.
Oh, wow.
Really, really, really cool people. If you want to learn about space and humans' place in space, it's pretty cool. I'm scrolling through because I've got a bunch of my friends are just professors of various kinds or teachers of various kinds.
Yeah.
But I'm like looking at who can really. The Institute of Human Anatomy. If you're not squeamish and you want to see actual cadaveric specimens and learn stuff about human anatomy, they have amazing videos that show actual cadavers. I've got hundreds of hours of cadaver lab experience under my belt, and let me tell you, there's nothing quite like seeing an actual dissected human to teach you actual anatomy. Learning it in a book just is not the fucking same. It simply is not. Dan McClellan is an incredible source of education on the Bible. He is a PhD scholar of the Bible, and he just will blow any terrible precept argument out of the water with facts, not faith. And it's absolutely just extraordinary. The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, great way to just learn cool stuff about cool people. Dr. Esme Louise, she's a sexologist, I believe. She's a historian, pardon me. She's an historian, and she studies the history of sex and kink and stuff. So if you want to learn a little bit more about that, that's a great way to do it. Jack Lawrence does a lot of cool stuff about philosophy. Dr. Blitz does a lot of cool stuff about physics. Animal Logic is another one that's really cool, where you're learning cool animal facts in a really artistic and interesting way from this person who is, an artist first and a biologist second, and is making this really cool stuff. Minute Earth and Minute Physics are amazing channels that again teach you fast, hard-hitting science lessons really quickly. Love Veritasium and ASAP Science. They're incredible people that can really break down complex topics in a really fun way. I could go on and on and on. These are just some that I'm just kind of scrolling through and seeing off the top of my head. There's great channels out there that teach really cool shit. And find one that works for you. Look at PBS Eons. That's the last one I'll say. PBS Eons is fantastic if you're interested in deep time. But just going through these things and learning, like you said earlier, not just what you want to learn, but learn how much you don't know. And then when they say something that sticks out to you, is like, oh, I don't know shit about that. This is a really interesting episode. If you find an episode that really piques your interest, that means you need to study it more. Absolutely. And you need to go buy a book about it. You need to go look it up online. You need to go think about it a little bit more until that episode is something that's not just a fun fact. It is now a gateway, and it teaches you more crazy shit. Make science a springboard. Don't just have it be a collection of fun facts. It's a springboard. Launch you to the next cool thing.
That's it. Yes. There's a quote. I don't remember who said it, but they said the only true sign of intelligence is a transformed life. And I fell in love with that as a quote to just kind of even remind myself that the purpose of learning isn't to have this trophy of this is what I know. The purpose of learning is to be able to use that information to move my life forward and to contribute to the world that I live in, which I think so many people have been separated from. Man, okay, so I have so many questions. I have so many thoughts. You damn, man, I could probably talk to you for hours and hours and hours because there's so much here. I didn't realize we had so much in common. Honestly, that's never a thought of my mind when I see a white person that we have a lot in common. That just never crosses my mind at all.
What white person? What are you talking about? Is there
So it's always refreshing to me to meet someone else who you're in Oklahoma, I'm Alabama. Yeah. There's no way that I would have assumed that we would have had this many cross intersections. I mean, even the way we approach school was different, but there's a lot of similarities there and how we come out. So I find that to be absolutely beautiful. What would you say? Because obviously, for those of us who are atheists and for those of us who put out content, everybody believes that we believe in evolution. We believe in evolution. We worship at Darwin.
Totally faith-based.
So what would you say would likely be the most common misunderstanding about evolution that leads people to treat it as if it's this religion, faith-based type of thing?
I think the biggest one is the idea that it's orthogenic, which is a way of saying orthogenic or teleological. They mean the same thing. Orthogenic is the biological term for it. Is the idea that there is a goal in mind. So teleological, in that case means perfect. And orthogenic, ortho means upright, and genic to create. And so these mean the same thing, which is that there's something in mind. There's a goal, there's a plan, that humans are the peak of evolution. Why aren't other monkeys becoming humans yet? Wouldn't they be? Because humans at the top, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, no. You would die if you lived how a chimpanzee lives. You are not equipped for that, right? And so, and they would die if they lived like a human lived. So you see all of life on Earth at the present moment is equally evolved. Yeah. Every bit of it. It is perfectly evolved for its environment, and it is still evolving. Everything is still evolving. And so that's the biggest misconception is people say, okay, well, so worms haven't evolved yet. They'll be human someday. And why is there this differential rate of evolution? And why am I the most evolved thing? None of that shit is true. And that, thinking about it that way, it makes sense if you're coming at it from a dogmatic framework that tells you that the entire universe was created especially with you in mind. If you're coming at it from that framework, then it makes total sense. That's how you would see evolution. Oh, okay. Everything's trying to be like me. And you see that dumbass, it's the diagram is called the March of Progress. And it was made by this guy named Rudolf Zallinger back in the 40s or 50s. And it's that really popular thing where it's like the monkey like leveling up into a human, you know what I mean?
Yes.
That's not how it fucking works. And I hate that diagram because it teaches the wrong thing. People think that there's this path and it's not a straight line. It's this tangled fucking bush. So I think that's the biggest misconception is that it is orthogenic in nature, and that everything, if you see a bug on the side of the road, it's not the bug's fault. It just hasn't evolved yet. And like that kind of, you know what I mean? That's the way of the thinking that really crushes curiosity and the ability to learn more stuff about evolution.
Wow. And you know, that is really interesting, because I don't think I'd ever thought of the hierarchical aspect of the way many people view evolution, but it definitely is there.
It is a leftover. It's one of the reasons why evolution was such a controversial topic in the beginning. Not even just evolution, the concept of fossils. When we learned what fossils were, completely revolutionized the way we saw the world, because at the time, so we had what was called the Great Chain of Being, with demons and rocks and shit on the bottom, and humans and angels on top, and then God ruling over it. And you had every plant, animal, fungus, everything was in this hierarchy of nature. And overthrowing that and saying, no, we're all just fucking here. Like we're kind of just figuring it out. That was a revolutionary idea. And it's still a hard one to get across to a lot of people who are used to that kind of faith-based, I don't want to say fanatical, egocentric thinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, because it shifts us from looking at the world from everything being guided to realizing that everything is just surviving, and that what we're watching is survival. This adaptation, this evolution, it's survival, and that's uncomfortable at first, because it's the idea that, oh shit, so nothing's out there just paving the road for me and splitting the seas and all of that stuff. No, bro, you're gonna have to learn how to build a boat and do some shit and make some stuff happen, or you're gonna die. Survive or die is pretty much how this goes. Which is encouraging in a way, because then I think one of the first thoughts I had when I kind of embraced that this is likely a reality was that means every living being today is here because everything that came before you survived long enough to be able to, for you to be here. So you're part of a lineage that stretches back to the very beginning of life itself. That to me, that gives me like a little bit of like, I don't even know what to call it. Just like, it's just like, holy shit, I'm from a long line of survivors, like things that popped up and survived. And like when you realize how hard life is, because life is hard, and that was a free thing for me. Once I realized life was hard and was likely hard for everybody, I stopped crying about it. Once I realized that chaos is kind of the state of the world and we're figuring it out as we go, I stopped crying about it. I stopped being shocked when people were ugly. I stopped being shocked when people were mean. I stopped being shocked when bad things happen in the world. It's still unfortunate. I still get a little sad about it, but it's like, I get it now. And it's like, that's what our job is with this whatever consciousness thing that we have, is to do something about it. is to look at it, learn from it, and realize that, you know, like, we're probably not going to get it right the first time, because, like, this is our first time being alive. We don't know what this shit is. We're trying to figure it out. But man, that has been the freedom of science, because as a Christian, I had to pretend that I knew what all this shit was, and while not knowing. You know, like, one of the biggest questions you get, like, people ask, say now, well, how do you explain the universe now? I couldn't explain it before. I couldn't explain it when I was a pastor. Like, what because I was a Christian, you thought I knew?
Right. Would you rather have a bunch of bullshit, or would you rather be honest and say, I don't know some shit? And like, yeah, you're absolutely right. That's it makes it make more sense when you see atrocities in the world, when you see people behaving badly. There's no longer this big question of why would God allow, and how did Satan manipulate, and who did they turn to? They're false gods and idols and worshiping the blah, 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 blah. Like, you don't have to worry about any of that shit. Just, hey, that guy's an asshole. Doesn't mean you have to like it. Doesn't mean you're not going to fix it. Doesn't mean you're not going to devote your life trying to make shit better, but it doesn't leave you wondering what happened. He was an asshole. That's what happened. And assholes fish got to swim, birds got to fly, assholes got to be assholes. And let me tell you, there's nothing you can do to stop that. You just got to try to make it better. And what I love the most about what you said was actually something you said at the very beginning. You're talking about like all these creatures that had to live to lead up to you. Let me tell you, that asshole mentality, it fixes it. When you think about it, at least in my mind, it does. Yes. When I think about the fact that I've got two parents, right? Yes. I can name both of them. I'm fortunate enough to say I've got 4 grandparents. I can name all 4 of them. I'm fortunate to say that means I've got 8 great grandparents. I think I can name 2 of those, maybe if I try really hard, maybe 3, right? And that means I've got 16 great grandparents. Generational fucking one of them. I don't know a single one of them. And that means I've got 32 great grandparents. Don't know a single fucking one of them. And that means if I go to another great and another great and another great and another great and another great, all of a sudden I'm talking about over 1,000 people, 1,024 people. Those are my great grandparents. Yes, I think that 1,000 people, and I don't know a single one of their names. I don't know what they looked like. I don't know what they acted like. I don't know shit about them, but I know they did one thing right. They fucked. And if they didn't do that, I wouldn't be here. If those 1,000 people. And it's crazy to me because you go back in history a little while ago, there was a major choke point, a major bottleneck for human civilization. When humans left Africa, there was a major bottleneck event. Brought us down to only a couple thousand, not counting all the humans who were still in Africa. And that's why you have so much more genetic diversity between any 2 black Africans than you do between the most diverse racial groups you can possibly pick outside of Africa. You pick any random Scandinavian and someone from the Philippines, they are more closely genetically similar than any 2 random black Africans. And even if you take that away, even if you take that bottleneck away, you go back far enough, there's a point where our population is remarkably small. And you're telling me in just 15 generations back, there were 32.7 thousand people that all had to fuck to make me? There's no way. There's no way that like 1 or 2 of those people at least isn't some of your 32,000. Right. There's no way that's at least like 10 of those people overlap between everybody in this audience. It may not be the same 10, but it's some of them. And you go back just a little bit. Yeah. We're all connected. We're all fucking family. And the crazy thing about it is that as a religious person, you say, oh, we're all a family. You mean we all believe the same shit. As a biologist, I mean, we're all a motherfucking family. And you take that further back. You talk about the history of evolution overall. You realize that all life around you is your family. You are all related. Sir. Everywhere you go is a family reunion. If you walk outside and you see a dog and you see a tree and you see some worms and you see the bacteria on the bottom of your shoe, guess what, motherfucker? Them's is your kin. They're all around you. And so like that when you see that situation where like, hey, this person's just an asshole, fuck them. You don't have to attach the fuck that person anymore. That's right. You're like, hey, this person's an asshole. That's my cousin. I should intervene and make them better and help them and tell them I love them and help them make the world a better place. And you don't have the hate attached to the shame, attached to the bigotry, attached to the sadness. You just have purpose. That's the beauty of science, in my opinion, anyway.
Oh shit! Damn. Now we might as well do an altar call at this moment because that was so. Like if I didn't have the headphones on, like I'd be standing up right now because that's like that's the shit that I want to hear, man. Like that's how I feel. That's what makes me excited. Is like we're related, and I'm so glad you took this generational math piece because like I remember doing that math probably a few years ago and realizing like this is fucking insane. Like the further you go back, the bigger these numbers have to get, and like we are literally all related. I tell people my journey to humanism. I've been an atheist since 2014. I was an atheist with a Christian heart, and then I was an atheist with an African heart, and then I finally became an atheist with a human heart because it's just a heart. But anyway, so but I was a Black nationalist for a while and a Pan-African for a while, and Pan-African meant I cared about Black folk everywhere, and that journey led me to doing a lot of history on where Black people were. And I was like, damn, there's Black people in a lot of places. Did not know. Oh, I hope I didn't go out. Did not know that there were Black people in the Philippines and all of these other things. And then the indigenous.
And now he did go out. I don't know if he's freezing for everybody or just for me, but he's gone. The man is gone. And I love that freeze frame too. Looks like he's real angry at somebody over there. Oh,
in Australia. And so, but
there
more and more I went on that quest.
Are you there? Nope. Dead. He's dead. I'm amazed at the fact that I'm still alive. Or at least I think I am. Because my motion capture over here is still moving. So like, I'm pretty sure it's just me now. Welcome to the Forrest Show. Hi. I'm Forrest Valkai. I'm your biologist friend, and I'm here to teach you about science you didn't want to know. Did you know that there are plenty of animals out there that eat poop? The word for that is coprophagy. So now, next time you're talking about Donald Trump, you don't have to say he's an asshole, racist, cult leader, bigot, whatever. Just say he's a coprophage. Makes more sense. Darante, he may be back.
I'm trying to get back. We'll see what's happening. That was amazing, though.
You were talking about how you were Pan-African and you cared about Black people everywhere, and you started to learn more about where Black people were and the different types of nationalities of which Black people belonged.
Yep. And then the more and more I jumped into those studies, man, just the harder it got to actually draw lines around race and around ethnicity, the harder it got to draw these really clear lines of what Black is or what African is. Because our story is messy. It's clean. It's not as clean as we like to think it is. It's not as black and white as we like to think it is. And so then, like,
not as black and white.
You see, you know, and so you really begin to the more you actually try to approach this stuff from a good faith place, humanism is the only place you can end up, because we're literally all related. You know, you go back to those 1,024 ancestors that all had to fuck somebody to make you. That means you are literally a melting pot, you know, of so much, you know, and then again, like you said, the further you go back in this line, you feel that you realize, like, no, I'm related to everything. Going back to just that Carl Sagan quote that, you know, we're all stardust. And to me, like, that's why I don't feel like I lost any sense of awe or wonder when I deconverted, because, like, the more you know about reality, the more to me, the more connected I feel to it. The more connected I feel to others, the more responsible I feel to others. This is, I don't necessarily use the word spiritual anymore, but this is my spirituality. That, like, this is where I derive my awe, my meaning, my purpose is living in this world, knowing that I'm connected with everything around me, and trying to, I love what you said earlier, trying to give language, trying to speak to that in its own language, trying to find that language. That's the journey, and that's the beauty for me. Like I said, I got so excited. I think your good preaching must have messed up my computer. That's what happened here. Because honestly, man, that
you didn't stand up, but your computer was in the background.
Like it was having a Holy Ghost fit, man. You know. Because that's like, damn, that's good. Oh shit.
I,
Okay.
I love what you're saying about, like it becomes hard to draw the lines around blackness, because honestly it is that way with a lot of like there is no, this, race is not a biological construct. It is a totally social idea. Yep. And when you trace any racial group, you're going to find an evolutionary story for why they look the way they do. You're going to find their vast connections to everybody else in the world. And more than anything, what I think stands out to me about that is, and this is a totally different topic, so if you don't want to go this way, we don't have to.
Good.
Like,
let's go.
It reminds me all the time when I think about it that, like, when I look at this, I'm like, okay, there is no uniform racial classification system that works. All these racial characteristics vary independently of one another, and they are all continuous. Therefore, there are no clear defining lines where one race starts and another begins. There is more genetic diversity within what we call races than there is between them. These lines are completely arbitrary. They don't make any fucking sense. More importantly than all of that, in my opinion, is that whiteness, the race of white, what we call white people, the entire concept of white, that idea is rooted in white supremacy. Yes. So because races were developed, the race system that we have today was developed in the 1700s by America to justify slavery. Yep. Because we had to find a way to categorize people to say these people are lesser than, different than. And so what we had to do in that moment, and then for hundreds of years afterwards, is continually try to invent whiteness. Yep. We had to create what it meant to be white, because we had to separate ourselves from everybody else and say, well, no, we're the special ones. And the only way that we've been able to do that, the only way that we can define whiteness, is that it isn't other things. Yep. Every other racial category is based on inclusion. You are black because you have black ancestry, because you have African heritage. I am white because I don't. Excuse me. I'm not white because I have European heritage. There are plenty of people of color that live in Europe. There are plenty of Europeans of all different shapes, sizes, colors, all the sorts of. I'm white because I lack those things, because I am pure from all those things. It is the only race that we categorize by exclusion rather than inclusion, because it is the only race that is supposed to be based in purity and being this isolated group that are so much better than everybody else. And that's why we don't call Barack Obama yet another white president. He's half black. He's not the first biracial president. He's black because he has a little bit of black, so he's black. And we don't call him anything else. He's always that one drop rule. Absolutely right. Yep. And I swear to God, the way we talked about him while he was getting elected, you know better than I probably. Yes. We were this fucking close to holding up a paper bag and saying, look at it, you know what I mean? We were that close. And so that's is like, when we talk about race, I love the fact that you're talking about like African diaspora and talking about black people all around the world and saying like, hey, it's fucking hard to define. And I think it's a great lesson. And I think the other side of that lesson that people need to remember is that the way we measure that, the meter stick that we are using, is white supremacy. Yep. So like this whole fucking system sucks, y'all. And that's what's so important. When I was a kid, I was taught that race is a very real thing, but it doesn't matter and you shouldn't talk about it. And the biggest lesson that I try to teach people about biology is the exact motherfucking opposite. Race is not real at all, but it fucking matters and you need to be talking about it. Because it shapes your world, y'all, in ways that you don't want to admit. Everything has a racist history, especially here in America.
That was a beautiful way to put that, man. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Damn, Forrest, like, why aren't you a preacher, bro? You need to open up a science church.
If I was evil, I could have been. I bet.
Like I'm telling you, would have killed it, especially with the curl, man. The curl is going to get it. That goes for the churches nowadays. That is in. That is in the Hillsong crew. They're going to love it. There you go. There you go. Which I was going to mention. I'm missing the shag, man. So I guess that challenge is over. You. Yourself.
I couldn't handle it. I could feel my lips moving, and I wanted to kill myself. I had to get rid of it.
Oh, that is awesome. All right. Well, we're going to get ready to land this plane. I try not to go over 2 hours because I want to make sure I honor your time. And you have a busy day today, as a matter of fact, right?
Yeah, I'm doing AXP right after this, and then I'm on the Sunday show after dark with you.
Yes. Oh shit. Oh yeah. Okay. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah. All right, awesome. Well, as we wrap this up, if there's anything that people can pull from our conversation today, anything that people can pull from your work today, what do you think the most important thing it would be for you if listeners could walk away with just one mindset, one shift in their thinking, grounded in science rather than superstition? What would you want it to be?
I would say the biggest things, like the common thread that ties this entire conversation together, and I think that there's a really important lesson, is be more curious and be more compassionate. And I think if you're doing one right, you'll end up doing the other. So I think they go hand in hand. But as you do that, it'll change the way you see the world. If you think about, there's a lot of psychology behind this that you could probably speak to better than I could. But like the way that we form in-group and out-group relationships is completely arbitrary. I always point to Henry Teifel, social psychologist back in the 70s, I believe.
Yes.
You probably know him because you have a sociology background, but like the guy who would take people and group them into teams based on totally fucking arbitrary criteria, increasingly arbitrary. Where he would start by like, how many dots do you see on the screen? Did you overestimate or underestimate the dots? And it turns out it was actually random. Or do you like this kind of painting or not? Go to this group or that group, or flipping a fucking coin in front of them and saying, okay, you go to and no matter how arbitrary the groups were, they would then start playing games and stuff, and they would develop extreme discrimination, extreme hatred of the other group. And Teifel would talk about how it was like upsettingly easy to get these people to hate people that they've never fucking met, but they were sitting over there, and that makes them bad. And so like what these things taught us is that we're insanely tribalistic, but we're able to draw those lines anytime, anywhere, for any reason that we want. And so if you take the time to redraw those lines in your head and see all humans as your family, and really think about that generational math, think about those numbers, and think about everybody is your relation. Every animal, every plant, every fungus, every bacteria around you, every part of it matters to you. It's a weird mental shift, but let me tell you, you will be shocked at how quickly it changes your entire life and how difficult it is to try to trap you into hateful, discriminatory, tribalistic, prejudice, xenophobic, homophobic, transphobic, racist, sexist, you name it. It is harder and harder and harder to trap you into that dumbass thinking, because that's not some other race, that's not some other team, that's my family, that's my brother, that's my sister, that's my friend, that's my cousin. That's what and if you're more curious, you'll learn it, and if you're more compassionate, you'll live it. So I think that's the common thread to this whole thing, is be curious and be compassionate.
Wow, man, Forrest, this has been a pleasure. I definitely got to get you back for another conversation.
Anytime, man.
Because I don't even think I got through. I don't think I got through 15% of my.
I feel bad. We didn't touch a lot of your. I actually looked at your document over here, and we didn't do a lot of it.
Like after a while, I was like, I don't think we're gonna do it. But no, because this, which I do prefer it this way. I create the guides. I create the guides just in case we don't have anything. So I always love it when I can get on with the guest and we just start riffing. Because to me, that's just so organic. And so, man, I'm excited.
Talk to Seth Andrews about how the guides usually go with me. He's tried a few times. It's never happened.
Funny. Oh man. Well, listen, man, thank you for being here with us today. I'm going to drop you into the back. I know you have a busy day, and of course, I'll catch you this afternoon. Thank you for reminding me, because I had not checked Discord today. So that's always nice. I think last time it worked like that too. One of my subscribers told me, "Hey, you're going to be on the line tomorrow," and I was like, "Thank you. Let me go check the Discord."
Totally, yeah.
But awesome, man. Have a great day. I will see you this afternoon, and I'm going to close out here and read some of these super chats, man. I took them off so quick. I'm sorry, Forrest. I didn't mean to interrupt him. I'm a racist. I do that stuff. Now let me stop. This was like fucking phenomenal, man. Thank you all for hanging out with us for this conversation. I'm going to do my best to get Forrest back on here. I think we need more conversations like this. This was refreshing for me. Many of you know I'm kind of on somewhat of a sabbatical from doing our more thematic content for a while. And these conversations have been giving me life. So let me hit these super chats real quick. One-Eyed Heathen, thank you for $5. Science is a way of cobbling together better and better explanations. I like that. Religion is buying a bridge in Brooklyn. I ain't mad at that at all. I like that. Penelope, thank you for the $10 super chat. Great collab. Forrest preaches education like it's a revival meeting. That's what I felt. That man, yes. Yes. And Lee B, thank you for $10. I am enjoying this conversation. And Lee B, we are enjoying having you in this conversation. And we also have two new YouTube members, John Davis and Andy Knight. Welcome to the community. Welcome to the family. Thank you all for hanging out with us today. I'm not going to keep you too long. Let me go ahead and check out my top fans. We started doing this. Top fans, if you're here, our top fans for today are Penelope, Thriver Scapegoat, and Raise a Village. So that's Penelope, Tots, and Piers. Okay, I get it. I think I get that. Penelope is at number 1. Thriver Scapegoat at number 2. Raise a Village is at number 3. Those are our top fans for today's live, which means you commented the most. You got points. YouTube is doing a thing. So what I'm doing is, for our top 3 fans, you get a free gift from Windows Shop, free digital guide. Email me, dl@dldd.us, and I'll give you the code and the link to go to our website, and you can get any digital guide that you want at any cost. And so that's fun times, right? Fun times. Let me see here. Next week, Dr. Bird will be with us, and we're going to be having a conversation on all things Paul. And so please don't miss that. And then the week after that, we'll have Dr. Darrell Ray for Let's Talk About Sex. We're going to be talking about sex. And then again, I did mind you all that we do have our supporters only event coming up on July the 25th. We did our first one last month, and so we'll be doing our second one this month. This is for our patrons, our YouTube members, our window shoppers, and our BC grads. So if you're in any of those categories, you will get your invitation and your link. And so you got plenty of time between now to get into one of those categories. I think that's all I have for you for now, man. I love you all so much. If you want to find a way to support the work that we do, check out the links in the description. Of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel and all that great jazz. And I think I'm going to let y'all close out with some music. I'm going to play Running on Empty. I love you all. Until next time, keep rising. Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome back to, of course, it's our Sunday sessions. And of course, I'm kind of in the dark over here, but we're going to make it do what it do. I actually wasn't planning on doing a music portion today. And then right after we kind of wrapped up our notes and everything, I came by the piano and I had this little medley, one of those things that came to mind. And I wanted to share a little bit of this with you. This one will be short, but I think it goes in line with what we're talking about today and how we're closing out this conversation. I'm going to play around with it a little bit and we'll see. Did I freeze up on y'all? All right, here we go. I'm on the edge of something incredible, though I feel I'm running on empty. Don't feel sorry, I'm just getting started up, and I tell you I've done it on empty. I'm on the edge of something incredible, though I feel I'm running on empty. Don't feel sorry, I'm just getting started up, and I tell you I've done it on empty. I can't tell you what will work, I can't tell you what won't hurt. I can share these lessons learned from my emptiness, and I don't know what will go wrong, and I won't dwell on that for long. What I know is that I gotta keep moving, 'cause I'm on the edge of something incredible, though I feel I'm running on empty. Don't feel sorry, I'm just getting started up, and I tell you I've done it on empty. I'm on the edge of something incredible, though I feel I'm running on empty. Don't feel sorry, I'm just getting started up, and I tell you I've done it on empty. I'm on the edge of something incredible, though I feel I'm running on empty. Don't feel sorry, I'm just getting started up, and I tell you I've done it on empty. I'm on the edge of something incredible, and I feel I'm running on empty, but don't feel sorry. I'm just getting started up, and I tell you I've done it on empty. And I tell you I've done it on empty. And I tell you I'm running on empty, yeah. I'm running on empty. I hope y'all enjoyed that. Like I told you, it would be brief, but I wanted to share that, and I hope it did something for you. And I'll jump over into the other side of the studio so we can get this conversation started.